Hi, Megan and Megan's Creations here. Today I thought I would teach you about putting paper textures on light colors, including white. This was one of the very first problems I had to figure out as a designer. I was like, I'm trying to make white papers and they're not working out. Everyone says just use overlay blend mode and that's the easy way to make a paper, but it's not working. And so it's a little more, it's a little trickier to do white and light colors when you're trying to make a paper. And so I'm going to show you how I do it. And I'm starting here with a paper texture by Dream Big Designs. It's from her second pack, and I love her textures, and she didn't pay me to say that, I promise. I'm just trying to give credit where credit is due, and I'm using her texture to teach you in this tutorial about overlays. So I open up the texture, and then I'm going to make a layer from background so that we can play with this texture layer. And we don't have to start with an off-white color. Lots of times people will tell you when you're making white paper, you need to make it slightly off-white. But with all the little things I'm going to be doing to it, you could almost go pure white and it would be just fine. But I'm just going to do a little off-white here, just barely away from the corner, and bucket fill that to my new layer here underneath. And now we come back to our texture layer, and let's go ahead and start it with the levels centered. Okay, lighten it up. And sometimes with lighter, especially white, you might want to go just a little to the left of the peak, just because we're going to be dumping a bunch of texture. I'm going to do more than one overlay mode for this paper, and so it's going to get darker. And so as light as we can, without jeopardizing the quality. So go ahead and do overlay on the first one. You can see it's a whiteout. You can't see any of the textures. So we duplicate this overlay layer, and now the first blend mode I do is soft light, and I do that at 50%, and you still really can't tell a difference. I can see a little bit of the creases there. What's going to really bring out this texture now is when we do linear burn. And at first it comes, that's gray, that's too dark. So you go down to about 10 to 20%. And you can just kind of play around with this, bring it up a little based on how white you want it to look. And if we zoom in here, you can see the texture there. You can see that great wrinkle right there. And that's how I do it. 3 layers of textures for my white. And also for my light colors. Like I have this green here, it's bright green. When I have a bright color like that, I definitely use this triple technique here of overlay, soft light, and linear burn. You'll notice if I take away the linear burn, I'm losing a lot of those depths, the dark areas. If you just do an overlay, it's very flat, doesn't have a lot of characteristics to it. Again, if you zoom in, it's barely got the texture there, but when you add the soft light and you add the linear burn, it gives a lot more definition to these papers. So use this 3-step process for white or any light colors to add, some texture to them and give them a more realistic look. Overlay alone doesn't do the job. So I hope you found that helpful. I wonder if you've been struggling with that problem like I was. This is my solution. And we'll talk to you next week in the next tutorial.